getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 7 of the season, coming to you today from Motorsports Arena, Oschersleben. My name is Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, we head off to a track that we have seen before in the Weekend Warriors world, but on a layout that we have not seen. Oschersleben, we've seen a lot of the B course. However, this is only my second time covering a race running around here. It's quite odd. Shortcuts that back straightaway a little bit. It feels like a dogleg detour, and that's because it is. However, it's such a drastic change that I feel like it will change the kind of racing that we're going to see here today.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ron. I think that the just one little change there cuts off a big chunk of the backside of the circuit, and really changes the dynamic of how this race is going to go. And I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more, but it looks like it's going to be a very challenging race for some of these drivers today. And it's going to be some tight confines amongst all the drivers out there, with 36 cars involved in this race, and your lap time is about a 1:08. So that's going to make things a little tricky.
Yeah, so this is a very small lap, and compared to the track that we were running at just 1 week ago in the form of Aragon, this feels like a little go-kart track, which is a somewhat fitting comparison. I remember one of my favorite series, How to Ruin a... Actually, no, it wasn't How to Ruin a Race Track. It was Super Serious Track Guide. Reese Gardner, aka Southpaw Sim Racer, not Southpaw Racer. I've seen his videos now for about a decade. I think I would probably know the channel name by this point. But no, one of his installments of that series was here at Oschersleben, and he said right towards the start that this is a track that brings racers back to their karting days. And there is a bit of truth said, and Justice track has a lot of hairpins, a lot of 180-degree turns, somewhat flat, a little bit of elevation change to work at here. But I think this is just going to be a test to see who can master their car and master the nature of this track the best in this race coming up. And we are seeing some big names return. Here's one, Sulal Shutwi in the 132 car. I cannot remember the last time we saw Sul running in one of these races. Happy to see him back running in third right now in qualifying.
Yeah, it is good to see Sul back. He's obviously got some talent in this car, and he was always competitive anytime he's in it. So it's good to have him back, and that just adds one more to the top of the board there that we'll have to keep an eye on during the course of the race. Obviously, we still have our regulars with Kane Halliburton currently sitting on pole 1 millisecond ahead of his teammate Almeida Racing Academy driver Ian Joyner. So it's going to be interesting. As you see, we've got already 23 cars within 1 second of pole.
Yeah, very close here in qualifying, getting into crunch time soon. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at the championship's point standings as we head off into the 7th round of this season. Oh, here it's a little bit hollow there at the moment, so we'll circle back to the championship point standings here in a couple of moments time. I was about to say that's looking very close to the championship, is ahead of by only points. There we go. Ian Joyner holds on to the championship points lead right now. Big gap at the moment for him. A past Formula Ford champion in Spec 1. He's holding on to 99 points as a tally over himself and Jason Green. Kane Halliburton, your reigning champion here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, is slotted in third. Alexander Gorson is in fourth, with Nathaniel Schramm rounding at your top 5. See the likes of Felix Amos, Dirk Braun, Jason Dunnington, Joachim Mosbeck, and Barrett Brumman, who showed some pace earlier on in practice here in this event, running at your top 10 in the championship points. Taking a look now at Spec 2, where Scott Russell holds on to a smaller advantage over Matt Thompson. 43 points, I believe, is a tally right now between those two drivers. Richard Harwood is not too far behind in third, and Paul Jackson isn't too terribly far behind that, as is Steven Saunders, slotted in third, with Kevin Adrian. Steven Saunders slotted fifth, my apologies. Kevin Adrian, Phil Berry, Marcel Gorson, Hugh Simpkins, and Daniel Wood complete your top 10 in the points in Spec 2. And now we look at Masters, where Jörg Mani is at top of the poll right now. A slightly bigger gap between himself and P2 that is in Spec 2. Brad Cathcart is in second place at 335. Chris Thorpe is in third, with Rich Meesters, Adam Bradshaw, Andrew Love, Antonio Reese, Chris Murakami, Tom Bradwell, Marcus Burkett completing your top 10 in the Masters points standings. That's how it looks in the championship points heading off into the second half of this season. I want to thank all of you for tuning into Slow Motion Broadcasting here today. Still in qualifying at this point. However, we want to go back to what is always a fun little thing to do here on these shows that never runs stale. I was going to hold off on this joke, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to resist. This always runs stiff with a good little ad read here. For not the first time this season, and I hope to God it's not the last, we'd like to thank Durkee's Dickles for sponsoring this season of Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors action. They know that every lap is hot and that consistency matters. No limp competition here, just serious crunch, undeniable girth, and performance that fills each jar. Whether you want mild, hot, or why the hell did I think I could handle that, they bring the heat and performance you can feel. Durkee's Dickles puts the tickle in your pickle. Let's do an onboard lap with Dirk Braun as he's heading his way into the final sector. I still feel like I need to scrub my tongue every time I read that out.
Yeah, let's get on board here with Dirk, and we'll run through this. There's only 8 corners in this entire track in this layout. So we hit the start-finish line. We make this run on the longest straightaway in this configuration. So a lot of drafting going to take place, and probably some dives down into turn 1 and 2, which is not good because turn 1 and 2 is right here, and you can see a quick flick to the left and then again back to the right. A long second corner there as we wrap around and head down the another little short straight here into turn 3, and we're going to make this left-hander, which is basically another 180 as we roll around. And then here's the change in the configurations. We get a quick little run down here into turn 4. We cut through on this little alternate patch of tarmac there, and then head back in the opposite direction out of turn 4 and then down into turn 5. So it's this little this wide open chicane here almost with turn 5 and then turn 6. Get a good run out of there. That's going to be a trouble spot as well today. Through turn 7, which is a very, deceiving right-hand corner. And then finally into the final corner, which is turn 8. And then back around to the start-finish line. As you can see, very, very quick lap. Only about 1:07 for the fast cars up here. And this is going to be trouble because, as you saw, not a lot of hard braking zones here to try and make moves, and not a lot of draft on this track because the change in configuration cut off a couple of our long straightaways in this layout. So you got to run down into turn 1, which is always problematic anyway, especially when at the start of the race you'll see them as they go too wide through there, and some of them may not make it. And then you lose those. So the only other hard braking zone is into that turn 4. I was watching practice. A lot of people struggling with turn 4 just because of it's not really a designed corner per se. There's no curbing or anything to assist you except just on the inside there. But if you run wide, you're going to be off in the grass, and you got tire walls and arm co to worry about. So this is going to make for some challenging driving, and hopefully, I think your qualifying position is going to be a little more important than usual here in these races.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point to bring up there, Charles. Qualifying going to matter a heck of a lot more to a heck of a lot of this field, as we see Adam Bradshaw Jr. return to the series for the first time since Montreal a couple of weeks ago. Currently qualified in 34th, only 1.8 seconds off the pole. So a very close field at the moment. Has spread out a bit. The checkered flag is now out, so we are in crunch time here in qualifying. Kane Halliburton is your current provisional pole sitter, but Ian Joyner, who's still out there on the racetrack, not sure whether he's on a flyer or not, is only about a half a tenth behind. That's a driver off the course heading their way through there. That is not the ideal line. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that. Mario Kremser is qualified in 36th at the moment, 2.3 seconds off the pole. Scott Russell and Richard Harwood have their own little showdown for the pole in Spec 2, with Russell down pit lane and Harwood out there on circuit. Jason Green looking to improve as he's slotted P2 in the championship. Will it be a gain from him? It will not. A 107.6 JG2 going to start this race all the way down in P11. Charlie Vaccaro next to come across the line. Will it be an improvement on his lap time as he heads across the line? No, it will not. He remains in 30th. Nathaniel Schramm now going to set a lap time. Looks like there was an improvement from him, but he does not improve in his place. Fascinating to see some of the usual top standout stars here in this series starting a little bit farther behind. JG2 and Nathaniel Schramm looking at the moment like they're going to lock out row number 6.
Yeah, it is kind of odd, but let's give a shout out to a couple of drivers. Scott Russell with the pole position for Spec 2 and then P8 overall, just ahead of Richard Harwood by 13 thousandths of a second essentially. And Rich Meesters with the pole in the Masters class. It's sitting at P10 overall, and I watched Rich a little bit during practice. He ran 37 laps in the practice session, so he was really, really focused in, and you see that practice paying off for him.
Yeah, practice making perfect. Everybody's gone the lap times here, trying to figure out how well to get around this racetrack, because even though it's only one turn that has been altered, as you said, Charles, qualifying goings that matter a heck of a lot here today. But qualifying is now officially in a rear view mirror with the drivers lining up to start the formation lap. Let's take a look at today's starting grid. It's going to be Kane Halliburton starting from the pole. Ian Joyner set to join him on the front row. Barrett Brummett going to be starting in third alongside Aleix Play Pleva in 4th. It's Solal Shutway in P5, Alexander Gorson in P6. Dirk Braun will start this race in P7 alongside your Spec 2 pole sitter of Scott Russell. Richard Harwood will start this race in 9th with Rich Meesters rounding at your top 10.
Yep. Jason Green will start in P11. Nate Schramm outside of row 6 in 12th. George Monty starting in 13th. Tom Gradwell 14th. Steve Saunders starts in 15th. 16th is Christoph von Langendock. 17th is Antonio Reese. Hugh Simpkins down in 18th. Josh Wilkie starting in 19th. Matt Thompson rounding out your top 20. Marcel Gorson starts in P21. P22 is Philip Berry. Adam Bradshaw starts in 23rd. 24th is Andrew Love. 25th is Jeffrey Atkins. Jim Brewster, my buddy Jim, starting in 26th. Chris Thorpe starting in 27th. Chris Montgomery starting in 28th. Brad Cathcart 29th. Charlie Vaccaro in P30, and then rounding out the rest of the field, Paul Jackson starting in 31st. Jason Dunnington starting in 32nd. Adam Bradshaw Jr. starting in 33rd. Kurt Nunez starting in 34th. Darren Keene starting in 35th, and Mario Krimzer rounding out your 36-car field, and this is going to be a wild one here, Ron.
It is going to be wild indeed. Thank you, Charles, for muscling through for the starting grid. We were able to get that all done and dusted before the drivers even roll a wheel on this formation lap. I will kind of bring up a discussion that we had before we got this broadcast up and rolling, talking about the tight confines of this track, how tricky it is to try and get an overtake done, and how close the field is. It's only 1.62 miles, this track. It doesn't really pack a punch with only 8 turns on the layout. Now, that still is a decent amount considering the length, but the point still remains. That is a pretty busy lap for sure, and we ran the numbers before we went live here, and I do have to actually adjust it because my formula accounted for 35 cars. You have 36, but it still is pretty shocking, I think is probably the best way to sum it up. Upon this layout, there are, if everybody's spread out perfectly even, like nice melted butter on a warm piece of toast, everybody is going to have 237.6 feet between one car and another, which may seem like a lot of distance if you're an ant, but if you're a driver in a race car on a racetrack, that's not a lot of time at all.
There's not a lot of time, especially when you're doing over 100 miles per hour. It's, it is one of those that we're going to keep an eye on. Obviously, the start here is going to be critical. They're going to be, getting a little bit of draft there at the start of the race and then piling down into turn 1 and 2. And that's always been a trouble spot here, is just getting going without having a lot of calamities in 1 and 2. I don't know that that's going to happen today. This is going to be a very, very fast and furious race today with this short track layout. It's just going to be one of those we'll have to just kind of sit back and watch and hope for the best. And hope everybody gets through the first lap or so safely. And then I think as we get later on this race, we might have to start looking at some lap traffic getting in the way of some of the lead cars. So that may throw another monkey into the wrench. Yeah,
so lot of wrenches being thrown in the works, a lot of monkeys getting thrown at other monkeys. I'm not sure what sort of zoo shenanigans we're going to get here today, but it's going to be a fun one. The pace car now down in pit lane, the green flag flies, the drivers are on their way, and we are racing here at Oschersleben. A dream start from Kane Halliburton. Ian Joyner maybe going to get chewed up and spat out a little bit farther behind as he's now having to worry about Barrett Brummett on the inside of him. And look at Solal Shutway and Alaise Pleva side by side, right in tow. Jason Green looking to try and get off to a good start, already looking at a spot inside the top 10. Everybody else fanning out side by side and 3 wide off through hotel of turn number 1 and 2. It's Halliburton leading up at the front. Barrett Brummett jumping his way up into P2. Ian Joyner rounding out your podium at the present moment as we are still 3 wide into 3.
Yeah, good start. It didn't have any collisions. As looks like everybody's got a good start off the line. Did see Chris Montgomery did not take the start. Maybe some internet issues. There we go. And now as soon as we start talking about it, we get it, and it's in turn 4. Kind of what we talked about. This is going to be one of the trouble areas with the change in the configuration. And we've got Antonio Reese involved in that to be one of our bigger names there, down 14 positions already.
I swear, us commentators are magicians. As soon as we talk about a race start being clean, that's when an incident takes place. That's a driver going off the track a little bit farther behind. Matt Thompson with the air conditioning mod in his Spec Racer Ford. That's not going to help him down the straightaways. Halliburton leads over Brumman over Joyner still, as battling a little bit farther behind is still going on. We look at Jörg Monty briefly side by side with Christoph van Langendonk, as that's three wide racing. Matt Thompson getting shoot up and spat out. Contact made with Adam Bradshaw. That's himself and Brad Cathcart. Bradshaw Jr., to be a bit more precise. Cathcart with a sideways snap through two. More sideways snapping coming out of it. He's going to lose out on some more spots. I think he may have gone off the track entirely. He is getting chewed up and spat out at the moment.
That looked like some serious net code there just at the end of that before we switched over. But yeah, Matt Thompson, has got the modified front end at this point. It's not going to hurt him as bad on this because obviously there's only one real draft area. As long as he just keeps the nose tucked behind another car, probably going to be okay till we get to our natural pit positions.
And right as we were going on about that, I saw a moment from Jörg Monty, Brad Cathcart swapping down even more. Let's take a look at Phil Berry to start this off with. This is heading downtown through turn number 3. A little bit of banking in this turn to help you get the moves done, but if you get beached on the curb, you're going to be done for. Big stacking up, huge stacking up, and everybody piling in. Nowhere that you can go. That's a problem with the shortened configuration. It is a dogleg detour, so the track narrows up so much, and that turn comes out of nowhere.
Yep, and that's we kind of talked about that at the beginning. Is that's just a difficult little corner there because it's not part of the natural natural racetrack that they're used to running, and it's not quite designed as well as one would like. But there we are, and you just see the natural stack ups, and I think that'll continue on for a little bit longer until the cars get spread out a little bit more. Obviously, with 237 feet between each car, there's not going to be a lot of spreading out, but there's always going to seemingly be a car around you somewhere. Oh, and there was a Andrew Love, nowhere to go. I couldn't tell if that was Chris Thorpe, maybe, that was just kind of lost it coming out of the corner and had to check the car up, and nowhere for Andrew Love to go, and gets the lion's share of the damage there.
Yes, we're going to take a look at more replays of this. This was actually the Jörg Monty moment that I referenced a few minutes ago. That's into 3, hops a berm a bit, hits the bowl and just slides out of it, and that's going to be Jörg Monty falling out of this race. Unfortunate moment to see him drop out early. Halliburton is still leading over Ian Joyner, who's actually been able to jump his way into second, and all that battling, though, he has pulled out a 1.5 second gap. Where have I seen that go on before? Here's Brad Cathcart in the 905 car. He had another moment after what happened at the start of the lap. He has another moment right towards the end of it. That's heading out of the turn 5 and 6 chicane. Hits the curb and hits the gravel trap as well. It's one more thing to raise about this track that adds into the challenge. It's an old school one in the sense that you don't have any asphalt runoff area. So when you bring that gravel back onto the racetrack, it's going to be a problem for everybody.
Yeah, it really is. As we're here with Josh Wilkie, and we're coming around into turn 4 again. And just a little bit hot there, spins the car around and just nowhere to go, holds the brakes, so we all right there, and gets the car pointed back in the right direction. Looks like a nice rejoin, nice and narrow on the outside of the racing line. So nice job to collect that car back up by Josh, but obviously the turn 4 still causing issues.
Oh, as turn 1 is causing a problem from Langendonk. Yeah, as we were talking about turn 4 being a source of trouble, which it definitely is, turn 1 and 2 seeming to be a bit of a choke point for these racers as well. Langendonk now slopped down in 20th as we look a little bit farther behind. This is a fight with Tom Gradwell with some visible damage on his car, Charlie Vaccaro with a little bit of damage on his, and Steve Saunders right in tow as well. This does feel like one of those bull ring races where everybody is going to be happy about leaving this racetrack with at least one body panel on their car, not looking like it got attacked by a pack of hammers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure what would be worse to drive Tom Gradwell's car or Matt Thompson's car at this point. Looks like that Gradwell might have had some suspension damage as well to go along with all the body work. As we see turn 1, just too much speed through there, catches the inside curb, and just can't do anything with it at that point.
As the curb strike once again. This has been a racetrack with so many landmines for these drivers to step on. It has been wild. I will say, talking about how packed in this racetrack is, it's a good thing we're not running on the C configuration of Oschersleben, because if we had 36 cars on that, everybody would have less than 100 feet to themselves fully spread out. So I think these racers are quite happy about this configuration, although they maybe hoped for the bigger one. But either way you slice it, we're still getting some good action. This pack forming behind Ian Joyner running in P2. Did have one driver fall out of it, though. This is Richard Harwood in the 777 machine. The Lane House livery, always nice to see that out there on the circuit. That's it to turn number 3, and around he goes.
Yeah, it looks like turn 3 is people are trying to use that what little bit of camber it has to try and help them around, and maybe just carrying a little too much speed going in, as we've seen a couple of cars lose it there in turn 3. As we're now back around here, this is a battle with Harwood, Meesters, and Hugh Simpkins going through turn 1. On board here with Jim Brewster, got Adam Bradshaw Jr., Langendock, and Dunnington in tow there. So we've got some packs starting to form. We've got Steve Saunders here running by himself. He's got a little bit ahead to the cars in front and a little bit behind. So that's probably the biggest bubble we may see today. I'm not sure that you're not going to see much bigger than that, I don't think, with maybe the exception of Halliburton up front. And this race is far from over. We're only 8 minutes in, so there's plenty of opportunity for the cars, as we now have, already got some lap traffic. So Halliburton already working around to some of the slower cars on the track here. And as they're coming down, I'm trying to catch that. It's the 905 car. That is Brad Cathcart coming down the front straight. Just moves over, lets Halliburton have the preferred line into the corner, and Halliburton makes his way through. Now it's going to get a little progressively worse there for Cathcart as he's got bigger groups coming. So he'll have to do probably a little bit more. It's probably going to cost himself some time, which is not good, obviously, when you're already toward the back of the field and you're starting to bleed seconds letting cars through.
Yeah, one benefit that Kane Halliburton does have at the front of the field, as does most of the field for that matter, that's going to begin the lapping process soon, is the gap between Kurt Nunez and Brad Cathcart is rather immense, so we won't see too many packs, at least for now. Once they kind of break past Matt Thompson, the cars with noticeable and heavy damage on the cars, then they're going to have to worry about the other pack involving Paul Jackson, Tom Gradwell, and Mario Kremser, cars that still have damage. Then it's going to get a little bit tougher, but for now, these racers are going to try and utilize this opening portion of the race to just get their bearings straight, still learn about this racetrack. I mentioned that this is only the second time that I've ever covered a race on this B configuration of Oschersleben. Last time it was ran was for, I think it was a Formula Ford official race that I was doing, and some of these racers do run in the Formula Ford officials. One of them being Ian Joyner, who, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, a past champion of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. He's quick. I think he's one that we got to keep an eye out for, as long as the chips can fall into his hand in the right order and Kane Halliburton doesn't just drive away. Ian Joyner may be a big thorn in his side.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, Halliburton is seemingly got everything kind of on lockdown there. 2-second gap, and it's growing a little bit, tenth or two per lap. Even so, even the pack, how the packs will run faster. There's just not enough straightaway here to give them a little bit of help to use the draft to work their way back up. So it's going to be tough for those cars. As long as Halliburton's not making mistakes, it's going to be tough for these guys to make up the ground.
Yeah, Halliburton really holds all the cards at the moment. If he plays his hand well, he could walk away with a very easy and surefire victory, but a lot of different hurdles for him to jump over. Of course, we do have those pit stops a little bit later on that always throws a big wrench into the works. At the moment, though, Halliburton, I think, is happy just to be minding his own business, running all by his lonesome, and he'll be good. And actually, a fantastic point being brought up by Guido in the production truck. The pit exit here at Oschersleben is a sin.
Yeah, you're coming out of the pits and you got a couple little kinks to worry about, but you're coming out basically right into the racing line there at turn 2. And the pit entry is not great. I mean, but you're not heavily involved in traffic. It's just It's a very, very fast pit entry with a corner that you have to deal with. So it's not the easiest pit to deal with. We've seen issues here, especially on pit exit, as you and Guido both said. So that was something we'll have to keep an eye on. But we've got, we're only 11 minutes into the race. We'll start seeing them about the 20-minute mark. I don't know if today is going to be a day where I would want to try and do an undercut. I just don't think with the amount of traffic we've got on the track that the undercut's going to be beneficial today. So I think you'll see drivers try and extend their stint for as long as they possibly can. And with a track like this, it may be very late. It may be the 35, 36-minute mark before we see the rest of the final cars come in for the pit.
Yeah, so the pit stop's going to be a big factor. The pit entry is sketchy too, but the pit exit is just the one that sticks out the most in my head. I remember one time coming out of the pits here in the Radical SR10, which I've gotten the privilege of covering the Radical SR10 officials for about 3 years now. It was the first ever show that I did back in early March of 2023. And trying to come out of the pits in that SR10, which I will say, and this is honest, it can feel a little bit numb at times, especially on cold tires. Trying to come out of the pits in the Radical SR10 and on cold tires here is basically like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle wearing boxing gloves full of peanut butter. It is so difficult. And even in these SR10s, even in these SRFs, it's going to be tricky. Excuse me. Kind of got ahead of myself talking about the Radicals instead. That was Jason Dunnington hopping the berm and hitting the curb. He picks up a slowdown, so he's going to drop behind Adam Bradshaw. That's another point that we got to raise. The track limits can be a bit unforgiving here, or unforgiving for some, totalitarian for others.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking, as you said, that I'm kind of looking at our graphics, our timing and scoring monitoring system, and as we see a move there, that's the 205 of Adam Bradshaw Jr. Looking to the outside there, Jason Dunnington. No such luck, not able to make that, and now he's under pressure there from Steve Saunders behind, and managed to slot back in, but. As was looking at that, we've already got a couple cars that are, obviously that's not perfect because we don't have, if we're not admins in the session, you don't always get all the information that you need. So, but there's a few cars out there that are already looking like they're going to be getting drive-through penalties before this race is over with.
Yeah, that's going to sting especially. I'm not sure what the length is of this pit lane from cone to cone, but considering it makes up more than the start-finish straightaway, I mean, you have to come into the pits on the entry into the final turn, and you only rejoin the racetrack heading into turn number 2. If you pick up a drive-through here, you're going to be done for. Speaking of a driver coming into the pits, it's Mr. Joshua Wilkie down the pits at the current moment. Saw him get involved in some drama a bit earlier on, so I have a feeling this could be a stop just to try and buck the trend, go for a different strategy, different play call. We'll see if it works out well for him. I know sometimes in the past he has underfueled or overfueled his car somewhat, so hopefully he's gotten the numbers down to a science. He's now on pit exit at the moment. That looked like a reasonable stop from Josh. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him because I'd like to keep my job.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it looked like a good stop, 14-second stoppage time. That's right in kind of in the area that we've had other drivers who've already came in to the pits. And it's about a 40-second run from cone to cone. So, you're talking about 40 to 45 seconds of lost time on track because of the entries and the exits here at Oschersleben. So it's drive-through's not going to do you any favors for sure. So that is something they'll have to keep an eye on. Once again, I'm just kind of looking at a few of the drivers who've either found a trick to cut a corner without getting it off track, or they're getting off tracks and they're already in danger of getting a drive-through penalty. Just throw some names out there. Adam Bradshaw is one. That's the senior. Alexander Gorson's already got a pretty high number as well. Charlie Vaccaro, Antonio Reese in that group also. So it is something we'll have to keep an eye on, and we'll get a good idea of how true our timing and scoring is. The first time we on the board, we'll kind of get a good feel for it. As a matter of fact, I think I just spoke perfectly. Sometimes it works out for the commentators, sometimes it doesn't.
I apologize to Matt Thompson for laughing that hard, but that may have been the most perfectly timed thing that I've ever seen in my life. Charles, are you a magician by any chance?
I am not, unfortunately, as we see Matt Thompson coming back in for his drive-through penalty. It looks like he's already been in the pits once to get the car repaired. So, at least he'll have a nice clean car when he comes back out. Hopefully he can make up some time, but we'll get a good idea here of just how much time he loses during the course of his pit stop, or his drive-through, excuse me.
Oh, that timed out so well. I swear, we commentate these races live. This is actually happening as we are talking about it. That could not have worked out better if we planned it. Oh, it wasn't even him. That was the contact. Bradshaw with a half spin heading through the turn. He got saved as a result of that upcoming car of Matt Thompson. But that 4X got to put him over the limit. We always talk about the incident limits, and they are rather fair, I would say. It clamps down on the drivers a decent amount. 13x before you pick up a penalty, and then 18x before you get disqualified. That's pretty much in tune with the other iRacing officials, if not a little bit more. Now, these races are a little bit longer than the official SCCA Challenge series that the Spec Racing Ford's car run in. But that's still rather fair. It just shows you that any bit of chaos that you get involved in, and it's a death by 1,000 cuts situation, really. It starts to stack up over time.
Yeah, it really does. As we get Langendock here working his way around Adam Bradshaw, who we saw earlier struggle a little bit through one of the corners. And we've got another big group back here of Dunnington, Brewster, Bradshaw Jr., Saunders, and Reese. Then further back, Ficarro and Paul Jackson. So Philip Berry in the pits now for his service. He's going to get in and out. The 888 Cookie Monster car, getting his milk and cookies for the middle of the race here, and he'll be back out here, and we'll see what these guys can do that are stopping a little bit earlier as we're at the 18-minute mark of the race. We'll see how they end up as they go through, if they get stacked up in amongst other cars. Obviously, Josh Wilkie's got a nice little gap. 19 seconds up to the next car, so he's in clean air, so he can run his car as hard as he needs to in order to make up some of that time to the cars that he was battling with.
I just finally got a good glimpse to see that new paint scheme of Phil Berry. Gone are the days of the Cookie Monster machine. He's now brought out the Big Bird car. So, insert joke about Big Bird nearly ending up on the Space Shuttle Challenger. But no, he's now tagged onto the back of this train. He's going to be towed along. That'll work out well for him. When these lapped cars do catch a ride with those top racers, it can help out their race a incredible amount. So even with him running a little bit farther behind, that may help him out somewhat. We'll see if he can maybe launch a charge against the likes of Joshua Wilkie. Maybe even Steve Saunders, who's actually in the pits right now. So, Charles, I will say in this race does have the feeling of one of those events where nobody really knows what kind of strategy call to try and run. Everybody's a bit split on when to come down pit lane. Certainly the chaos in lap one that affected a decent chunk of the back half of the pack. That's definitely going to play a factor in. But this racetrack too, you have a decent amount of spots to maybe try and get some fuel saving done. Some spots again overtake done. Look at Solal Shutwee getting the spot over Barrett Brummett, as I've been blabbering about the strategy. That's one way to try and do well in this race. Just go for the W, but Pleva goes for the kill, heading down into turn number 3, makes contact with the back of Al Shutwee, and fires into the side of Brummett. Gotta wonder what the damage situation is on those two cars.
Yeah, can't really tell. Doesn't look too bad, but yeah, it was just, you're sitting there looking at this, and you've got basically a 6-car pack here battling for P2. These cars have not separated from each other since the start of the race. As we're going to get it on board here with Pleva, so we're going down here into turn 3. Just looks to the inside, makes the move down, and that kind of looks like it might have been a more net code than anything else. As he got down there a little bit too close to the car in front, and saw the front end of the car. Doesn't look like it was connected, but looked like it was definitely up in the air. So maybe some net code involved in that, which is always a challenge when these open races. We've got drivers from everywhere, from U.S., Canada, Europe, as well as Australia. So, you just have to be very careful when you're racing, and knowing where each of the other drivers are will help you as you're going. But it's not always the easiest thing in the world to just be looking at driver flags as you're trying to make a couple of these corners.
Yeah, that's one unfortunate part of sim racing. It's great about sim racing that people from all corners of the globe can compete, but netcode can sometimes play a factor in it, and yeah, it's unfortunate when we do see it, but we haven't seen too much of it right now. I will say one driver who's panicking at the moment is Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who's pretty much all by his lonesome. He's on Lonely Island right now. He's got the pack of Alshutwi, Joyner, Pleva, Gorson, Brummett, Braun, 6 cars that are basically appearing in his rearview mirror like Exocet missiles following him on his way to the grocery store. Dunnington now battling with Adam Bradshaw. This is a fight for 20th. Every single time I see that car of Dunnington head his way through the chicane, especially into turn number 5, I can see the back end of that car kick out a heck of a lot. We talk about how these racers can tackle this track. Not to talk about the strategy as well. This is a very setup dependent track. That may be something we have to ask these racers once this race is said and done. We move off into the interviews, because I'm honestly curious exactly how these racers have been able to set up their cars, because so many different ways that these cars have driven. Some seem like boats, others seem like alligators fighting for a nice juicy red ribeye steak.
Yeah, absolutely. These cars normally are understeery by nature. They just kind of plow the front through the corners and will eventually hook up. We talk about this being a mechanical grip car. It does have a little bit of aero with the body, and of course you get the good draft. And so we're gonna go look at Dunnington here as just losing it there in 2 and making a little contact with that pink car that came through. I'm sorry, who say that again? Bradshaw Jr. Okay, thank you. So that's Bradshaw Jr. making the contact with the front of Dunnington's car. Dunnington with a meatball, he's going to have to come in and make his stop within the next 3 laps, so very, very quickly. So he's got about 2.5 to 3 minutes to get into the pits. Reese losing it on pit entry, coming into pit entry and losing the rear of the car, maybe touched a little bit of the grass there and just lost it. And then I guess that's the best place. If you're going to damage the car, that's probably the best place to do it, is as you're coming to the pits. You can set your fast repair and get back out there, but obviously not just a little bit of time lost, obviously trying to get the car collected and headed back in the right direction.
Yeah, thankfully for him, there's really no runoff area there, so unfortunately he did hit the barrier, but not a whole lot of time loss. I think he maintained usual speed, if not maybe a small little drop-off. Granted, the rear clip of that car is probably ready for the scrap heap. Maybe just decide to have that as some room decor. Looking at Josh Wilkie get chewed up and spat out by the cars attempting to lap him. Sul Shutwi has already gotten the move done, but he's playing spoiler to Joyner a little bit, kind of splitting his pack up. Now he finally gets out of the way. That's a problem with the turn 1 and 2 configuration here on this lap. We aren't running the section that former touring car champion John McClellan said drivers should be taken into a dark room and beat up at the head for designing that part of the circuit. We're running on the more open original layout, which is nice in terms of driving. It's a heck of a lot better than the 90-degree left on the other alternative layout here on iRacing. However, it doesn't really lead on lapped cars to find any way to get past. Doubly so in these Spec Racer 4s, which despite some cars seeming a little bit jumpy on the front end, can be such a tricky spot to try and let lap cars go by and jump out of the racing line. We'll see how that manages with Wilkie trying to negotiate the rest of this race, and the rest of the race with the lap cars trying to get out of harm's way. We jump to this battle, though. This for 13th. It was Christoph Van Langendock, Marcel Gorson, and Jeffrey Adkins who are battling for that spot. It's still close up at the front, though. Close in the lap times as well. 107.2s, 107.3s, 107.1s. Super close in terms of the pace.
Yeah, it really is. To go back to Josh, his lap times are not that far off from the lead group. He was running some pretty good pace, so that makes it a little more difficult. It's kind of it's hard to make yourself move out of the way when you're basically running about the same pace as the cars around you. Even though he's a lap down, that'll change as the leaders come in, and he'll be back out by himself again. But you see him smartly move over out of turn 4. Let the cars go by. He'll kind of tuck to the back and maybe hang on, maybe get a little draft off these cars and continue to help his lap times. That might not be a bad thing. Obviously, already into the pit, so that might help him. You never can tell. May help him pick up a position or two as the rest of the cars are pitting.
Yeah, and those pit stops are still looming for a decent chunk of the field. And when they do arrive, it's going to be a nervous period of the race. Halliburton, though, not feeling any nerves at all. Sets a 106.8 up at the front of the field. To do that at this point of the race, 23 laps into a stint, that is absolute madness. I don't think there's any other way that we can sum it up. I think that's quicker than his pole time. Golly. Jeffrey Adkins coming into the pits, and he nearly rear ends Marcel Gorson, who loses it on entry himself. That's a second driver we've seen do that in the past handful of moments.
Yeah, it really is. And that was, Gorson getting that car straightened back up pretty quickly. And that way Adkins did not run into him. So that was good. As those cars have now come into the pit. I think we're at basically the top half of the field, still yet to pit. About 16 or so cars still have yet to come into the pits as this keeps going a little bit deeper. And these cars start burning, getting close to the end. And now we have our leader into the pits. He's going to go ahead and get his stop done now. He got held up a little bit by that car in front that was pitting, because I think that's Crimser. So probably cost him a little bit of time there as he came into the pit. So we'll see what that does for the rest of the cars as they continue on, and when they come into the pits, we'll see if that time if that helps or hurts Halliburton. I'm going to guess hurts probably, but how bad is the real question.
So Harwood into the pits, waiting for many other racers to come down pit lane right now. It's now on Solal Shutway, Ian Joyner, and everybody else in this front pack to make that call next as we take a look to see Al Shutway running a little bit wide heading out of turn number 2. That's nothing too bad. Certainly a bit better than what just happened to Steve Saunders in the 303 car. This is downtown into Hotel 1 and 2. Through the first part, looks smooth there. Maybe a little bit off kilter into 2. Clips of grass and around he is going to go. Tricky for a spin of that nature because you don't really have any area to turn it around, and it is super blind heading through there. So trying to rejoin the track without any further incident is a heck of a lot easier said than done. The front pack deciding to stay out for one more lap. They're going to run this late, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to run it just as absolutely as deep as they can, and we'll see how deep that actually is. Once again, I don't think it's a normal. Oh, as we see the 201 car off, that was Gorson. No, it wasn't Gorson. Who's the 201 car?
201 is Marcel Gorson.
Okay. Oh, yes, Marcel Gorson. I was thinking it was the other Gorson with the same paint scheme. Not Alexander. It was Marcel. But moving over, I think, just to getting out of the way, who we have coming in the pits now. Was that Paul Jackson? Yeah, Paul Jackson coming into the pits. And so now the gap between Al Shutway and Joyner is 3/10, and you can see this front group is starting to spread out just a little bit. Alexander Gorson dropping off in P4. Dirk Braun's really, and as well as Brummett and Tram have really dropped off the front. So definitely losing the time to the lead pack there as we're heading down the front straight. And once again, it may come up to a pit strategy to get them back up closer to the front of the field. So we've still got a few laps left to find out how that's going to work for everybody. So it's going to be a very intense 10 minutes of this final 10 minutes of the race.
Yeah, and as the nerves continue to fray, these racers run around this racetrack at 10/10 with cars that aren't feeling anywhere near as factory fresh as they were at the drop of the green flag. There's still a lot of stuff left for these racers to try and navigate. Solal Shutway, Ian Joyner, Aleix Pleva is currently our top 3, still in the midst of pit cycles here, so we can't read into this too much. However, I will say Kane Halliburton running in P9 is not too terribly far behind the highest running of the racers who have come into the pits. Obviously, he was your dominant race leader not too long ago. Nathaniel Schramm, he came into the pits. He's down 13th. He just picked up a slowdown as Marcel and Alexander Gorson, my apologies, making the call to come down pit lane, the number 73 car. So the first racer to trickle in, but only one of them breaks away from this top 4. A little bit surprised to see how little unification there is in this front pack.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's usually you see a big group, and we still may see these three cars come in together. But yeah, Gorson decided he's going to do a little bit early and try and get in and get out in some clean air. As we see Scott Russell now coming into the pits from P6, Langendonk coming in from P9, and Hugh Simpkins now inherits the Spec 2 lead, moving up into fifth. And then Adam Bradshaw in the pits now is going to relinquish the Masters class lead, probably as he comes in for his pit stop.
So we see a little bit of dust in the air heading through the turn. See two drivers coming down pit lane. It's Ian Joyner and Aleix Pleva. So Sulal Shutwi staying out for one more lap. No draft assistance, so this may be a tough road ahead for the driver of the 132 car, but he's worked at some strategies fantastic in the past. We'll see if he can make it work this time around. Dirk Braun has also come into the pits from fourth at the current moment. Who's going to come out with the race lead? I think Kane Halliburton will be able to jump in front of all of them somewhat comfortably as he heads his way off through the final two turns right now. Has some clear road in front of him. I believe that's Marcel Gorson that just came into the pits right in front of him. Actually, no, it's Hugh Simpkins. My apologies. Very similar looking race cars on those machines. Here's Ian Joyner now off the gun. Aleix Pleva off the gun as well. And here's Kane Halliburton keeping it quick on the line. And this is going to be close, but I think it will go the way of Kane Halliburton. There he is at the bottom of your screen. It'll be close with Joyner on pit exit. That's Jason Dunnington. He's going side by side with Lapcar, who's going to have to yield. But Alexander Gorson isn't too far behind.
No, he's not. He had a good run through the pits as well. Pleva dropped off a little bit. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's just yeah, I would agree. Guido saying that Gorson probably underfueled, and I think that's right. He was 2 seconds quicker than Joyner, who usually cuts it pretty close during the course of these races. So yeah, we've got a Thompson Trophy candidate already out there in the form of Alexander Gorson. But sometimes you do things to just try and see if you can make things work, but not so much. But I will say this: that that little bit of a hiccup that Halliburton had coming in behind the other car, it actually cost him about 3 seconds, as well as a little bit quicker stop by Joyner. So Joyner able to make up that, and the gap's only 2 seconds back to Joyner from Halliburton. So as we see Al Shutwi coming through and back out of the pits, that is our last car to make his stop. And so he's going to pop back out in here in P3, I think. Or is he going to be? No, he's in front of Joyner, so he's going to be in P2. So 1.9 the gap between Halliburton and Al Shutwi. Joyner in tow of Al Shutwi, and then Alexander Gorson just behind. But we've already mentioned that he might not be able to stay there. And then Pleva all the way down into P5, but 3 seconds back.
And if Alexander Gorson has to come down pit lane with a much slower stop compared to everybody else, that is going to probably give P4 to Pleva and maybe elevate Dirk Braun up into the top 5 too. We'll say Gorson has more worries to worry about. Nice manner of speaking there for me. Gorson is currently sitting at 11 off tracks. Now, again, our information isn't too accurate here in the live timing tower. However, we can usually get a good idea as to who's had the most amount of off-track moments. That it looks like Gorson may have to worry about that a little bit later on, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as this race develops, and anybody looking at the gap between Halliburton and Al Shutwi and thinking, why aren't you talking about the fact it's gone down by 3 seconds because of the pit stops? Halliburton came down pit lane 5 laps earlier, so of course he had to put in a bit more fuel in his race car. Actually a little bit slower on the pit lane itself, but either way you slice it, that's kind of the reason. It's a bit artificial, I think, is probably the best way that I can sum it up. It's like drinking a diet soda and getting an aspartame taste as you take a sip. Christoph van Langendonk with a black flag. Not the first we've seen of that. Could very well not be the last either. I think he's going to pull off into the grass, probably get a bill from the landscaping crew and pull out of this race. Call it a day for Christoph van Langendonk. And then out there on the racetrack, there were only 31.
Only 31. As, we're still out there, and 31 cars still seems like a lot for this racetrack, but there we are, 5 minutes left to go in the race, so about 4 laps or so left, and you see the gaps over on your screen there. with Al Shutway starting to close the gap down just a little bit up to Halliburton. So 1.8 now, as we're still involved with some lap traffic as they're working their way around. I think I saw Adam Bradshaw Jr. out there just in front of that P2 car, as we see Marcel Gorson here coming through 1 and 2 and just locking the fronts up and sliding through turn 2 over into that nice strip of gravel to help slow the car down, and gets it righted and back out on the track, but obviously cost himself a couple of seconds there, and did not do his tires any favors as well.
You know, with all the other stuff for these racers to have to worry about, I am shocked that we haven't talked about tires in this race. I mean, frankly, it's probably not even in the top 5 or even the top 10 for that matter, but the tires, still something you got to worry about. This racetrack does put quite the load on them, so we'll see who has the most amount of life, the most amount of grip, who's able to navigate the end of this race the best. One driver who's not really able to navigate the lap traffic too well, as it's looking like rush hour traffic heading down the start-finish straightaway. Halliburton losing out on a decent amount of time. That last lap alone, only 0.3 of a second. That was closed up. However, if Al Shutway can get that gap to within about a second, the fight's really going to be on for the top spot. And you know who's right there behind, tacked onto the strain? It's the man who I talked about earlier on as being one that we would have to consider for maybe playing spoiler. It's your championship points leader, Ian Joyner.
Yeah, absolutely. They are doing a really good job navigating the traffic. This is not a good spot to catch a slow car in through turn 4. So they're going to lose a bit of time there to Halliburton, but still the gap 1.3 seconds. They are still closing it down, and there is still more traffic in front. So traffic has a tendency to give a little and then take a little away as you go through this race, as we see Simpkins now coming into the pits for a stop. And I think that's his second stop of the day. So he's going to drop down even further. Harwood now leading Spec 2, running in 10th overall. Rich Meester's running in 12th, leading the Masters class, as the gap now is continuing to close down, 1.2. And now you see Joyner, making the move on the inside of Al Shutway, getting it done, going into turn 1. And so now he says I'm on the charge, and I'm going to try and get up there to Halliburton and get a shot at maybe getting a win here.
Yeah, and luckily for these two, they only have one more lapped car to deal with. That's Paul Jackson right in front. Alexander Gorson, as we predicted, had come down pit lane just now. That was inevitable. It's unfortunate. The miscue on the pit lane going to cost him dearly. But that lap traffic encounter has cost out Joyner and Al Shutway just a teeny tiny bit. The gap is still 1.5 seconds, which certainly a heck of a lot smaller than the 5-second gap we saw before the pit cycle. But that's just enough for Halliburton to hold on to a comfortable gap as they're coming to 2 to go, I believe, this time by. Halliburton just needs to negotiate a couple more cars. I'm not sure how many he'll have to worry about, but it is not a whole lot. I think it's Marcel Gorson right in front, and then Jim Brewster a little bit farther up the road. And in terms of lapping, that's pretty much it for these top 3. Is that enough? Is that enough of an opportunity for Halliburton to lose out on the lead and for Ian Joyner and Al Shutway to maybe work together finally? We'll have to see. They proved us wrong 1 lap ago. Maybe that will be the opportunity for them to close up. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to just keep an eye on it. As you said, 2 to go this lap, and Joyner doing everything he can do to try and get that car as close to Halliburton as he can. And once you get, like you said, once you get into that 1 second, they get on that front straight, he will get a bit of a draft off of the car in front. So that'll allow him to make up a couple of tenths as they go through, as you see Halliburton clearing some lap traffic. And Joyner and Al Shutway will have to make that lap traffic, make the pass around as well, as we are coming around to the white flag.
The white flag in the air, one more lap of racing action here at Oschersleben. That's going to be some battling with some lap traffic. That's Jim Brewster running wide all through the turn. A black flag for you, Simpkins, and he's going to get overtaken, Jim Brewster, that is, by Marcel Gorson. So that may throw another wrench into the works and allow Kane Halliburton to drive away. Look at that gap balloon out, stuck behind that lap car off through 1 and 2, now to 1.6 seconds. It is definitely Halliburton's race to lose at this point. A black flag for Simpkins. He's down in 23rd. Mentioned that a few moments ago. But now the fight is on for second. I think these two racers know that there's not really too much of a shot for them to jump into that spot. But is there a shot for Sulal Shutwi to get this move done, to jump his way in front of Ian Joyner? Joyner doesn't have to risk this too much. He holds on to a nearly 100-point gap in the championship. And considering the driver in P2 of Jason Green is currently battling with Barrett Brumman in this fight that we've got on screen right now for 6th, I don't think he's going to have to worry about it too much. But Al Shutwi wasn't able to get the lunge working into turn number 5 or 6. Maybe into the final turn. We'll just have to find out. But farther up in front, Kane Halliburton, who jumped out to the lead, negotiated the chaos early, is going to come across a line to win it here at Oschersleben, slowing a little bit as he comes across a line. That's a victory for him. Close at the line between Joyner and Al Shutwi. Less than a tenth of a second at the line for your final two podium finishers. Alace Blave and Dirk Bronga come across the line in 4th and 5th, respectively. Jason Green going to finish right behind in P6. Here's your Spec 2 leader, Richard Harwood, who we saw get involved in some drama a bit earlier on in this race, but the driver of the 777 car is going to finish this race in P9 overall, winning it in the Spec 2 category. Meanwhile, on Masters, you can give the victory to the Canadian Rich Meesters in the 964 car, wins it here at Oschersleben, a race where we were expecting some peculiarities, and peculiarities we have got.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've still got a few cars left to finish. See Josh Wilkie coming across in 14th, just behind Phil Berry, and just ahead of Jeffrey Atkins. So I think that that early pit probably benefited Josh a little bit. Is able to finish in the top 15 there as everybody's getting everything done, and it looks like we're lining up for everybody's favorite activity here at the end of the race. So we're on board here with Jason Green, and where is he going to lead us to for today's Crash Up Derby here? Oh, right there at the exit of turn 1. So we're just going to launch here. Yeah, there we go.
See, I was expecting it was going to be on the back straightaway. There's a small little area right around turn number 4 where it can kind of form a nice little cozy nook for a Spec Racer Ford to absolutely demolish itself in. But no, we're doing it in turn 1. You can see Wilkie doing some donuts. That's Nathaniel Schramm doing some donuts as well. Drivers piling into each other left, right, and center. That's a driver with a blown motor. Somebody piling in. Oh! Ooh. It never gets old.
It never gets old.
Who's that upside down? Oh, that's not Scott Russell.
Russell beside him. Was that Dirk Braun? Somebody has flipped his pickle.
Charles Boshell, ladies and gentlemen, SMB's finest. We've got drivers with blown motors, drivers with completely ruined cars. We got flipped pickles. We're seeing everything here at Austria. This is truly at everything from black flags, fantastic commentators, jinxes, fantastic moments. This has been truly the race of all time, and I don't mean that as a bad thing.
No, it's been a good race. Obviously, a little bit more difficult than the drivers probably expected. And we saw some really good racing. Of course, Halliburton with the victory again. Makes it look easy every time he's out on the track. So, but great battles in that front group as well. And you just saw cars with different strategies. And we did have our share of spins and half spins and black flags and meatballs. And so, just par for the course here. And it was another good day here in the Weekend Warriors with the Spec Racers. And I was happy to be part of it.
So it was a strange day for many reasons, as this is Phil Berry's on board, parked on the top of the barrier on the outside turn number 1. What series of events has to transpire for you to end up there? That's actually 2. Who's that right behind him? Is that Mr. Wilkie? I think it may be. Let me. I have to zoom in. I think he may have towed, but let's take a look at the results before I see a driver strike that Volkswagen barrier on the outside there. We'll we'll break the crayons out to get the race results loaded up here in a couple of moments' time. Thank you. Our wonderful SDK graphics are absolutely fantastic and look stunning, but sometimes they have a brain fart. I can't really judge. I've had many brain farts on this show already. If we can't pull them up, that would be no problem. We can
just
run
down
the
the timing.
if it's all possible. Yeah. Well, we'll give it a couple of moments. We'll sing a small little song and dance here. See, this is the time I need to bring back my old drum kit. I had a drum kit as a kid, and me being the chauvinistic jackbutt that I am, I used to just all I would do is I would say a bad joke to my dad, run upstairs to my room, and then go so
yeah.
I think we'll. Yeah, I think we'll take a look at the other results. We're being held hostage by the graphics at the present moment. It's Kane Halliburton who grabs the victory over Ian Joyner in P2. Solal Shutway grabs the final spot on the podium with Aleix Pleva and Dirk Braun rounding out your top 5. Michelle Lynn showing the other love for the Durkees Dickles top 5, which rare, a true form in its natural habitat here at Oschersleben. It's Jason Green finishing in P6 in front of Barrett Brummett in 7th. Nathaniel Stram will be in P8 with Richard Harwood in 9th. Scott Russell rounds at your top 10 with Rich Meesters in P11. Alexander Gorson in P12. Phil Berry in 13th. Josh Wilkie in 14th place. Jeffrey Adkins rounds at the top 15 with Antonio Reese rounding out as close as I can get to the top half of the field without completely cooking my brain cells. It's actually down to P18. It's Adam Bradshaw and Marcel Gorson. I can't count.
Yeah, that's okay. I think 19th is Jim Brewster, Steve Saunders in 20th, Paul Jackson 21st, Adam Bradshaw Jr. 22nd, Charlie Vaccaro 23rd, Jason Dunnington 24th, Hugh Simpkins in 25th, Tom Gradwell 26th, Darren Keene finishing in 27th, Mario Crimser 28th, Brad Cathcart in 29th, Kurt Nunez in 30th, Matt Thompson 31st, Christoph von Langendock in 32nd, Andrew Love in 33rd, Chris Thorpe in 34th, York Monty 35th, and Chris Montgomery will be classified 36th, did not take the start. I will say this, I did go look at Durkees Dickles after the race last week, and I do like a good pickle. I like a dill pickle. However, I don't know that I would want to try a ghost pepper or a Carolina Reaper pickle. It just doesn't sound like something I want to subject myself to. Just saying. Some people may like that. I like a little bit of spice, but I don't necessarily want enough heat that it's going to melt my tongue.
Yeah, I'll join you in that brigade there, Charles. I one time got my tongue stuck to an ice pack after biting into a jalapeno. So if I bit into a ghost pepper, I'd probably be out of commission for about 3 days. Maybe that'll be what we do for the season finale. I'll bite into a ghost pepper pickle and try commentating the start of a race. That would be the 4th occasion, probably the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th occasions in which I swear on the air. So we're gonna maybe if I'm feeling particularly bold at the end of the season, we'll partake of that. For now, though, I think we're gonna partake of the interviews because we have some drivers looking to have a chat with us. And Charles, I'll let you have the opportunity to have a chat with P2 finisher here in this race, a man who put on a pretty rousing effort. It's Ian Joyner, our championship points leader.
Yeah, let's bring Ian in here. Ian, congratulations on the P2. Looked like Kane got himself a good jump at the start of the race and was able to kind of build himself a lead. You guys did a great job with a little fuel strategy in your pit to close that gap down, but just not quite enough to get up to him today.
Yeah, I think he summed it up pretty perfectly there. I think he was just super fast. Driving really, really well. Draft, I think, for the two between us. I'm sure if I'd been in the draft, I'd have been able to hang on. But it's just unfortunate. He did a nice start as well. So Barrett jumped me. Barrett's really fast as well. But again, just that gap opened up just a little bit. I would have happily sat behind Barrett, to be honest, if he'd hung on to Kane. As soon as that sort of gap opened, I thought I'd give it my best shot. But yeah, just wasn't enough to get back into it. And then I knew as soon as I passed Barrett, I was putting myself in that front of the train behind Kane. So it sort of felt a little bit awkward in there, just from a fuel saving point of view, because I was sort of, at that point I started saving in front because I wasn't realistically going to close the gap to gain. And I was going to lose those places, though, guys, if I just drafted them all the way around to the pit stop. So, yeah, slowed down a little bit. I think. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to ask. That was my next question. Was your pit stop was not the shortest, but it was short amongst the leaders. So you were saying that you were having to do a little bit of saving there at the end just to make sure that you made it home.
Yeah, definitely. Well, saving before the pit stop because I didn't with the I think it must have been 5 cars behind me, so they would have been saving. So if I'd just been driving flat out, I would have lost a lot in the pits to those guys. So I mean, to be honest, Saul helped me out by coming through, so I got to do a bit more saving the last few laps, and I didn't feel like we'd all done too badly. And to be honest, I mean, even though Kane was in front, he's normally pretty good at being fast and saving fuel at the same time. So
saving fuel.
The fact we all came out so close to him, actually, or at least a few of us, was good. And then I think we all just won and lost a little bit in the traffic at the end. Had a little race with Saul, but Kane was just so tantalisingly close to draft, but yeah, never quite there all race. So yeah, it's good solid one, flew by as they usually do. It's a great track. It's a shame there wasn't a bit more wheel to wheel because it can be like that, but again, in the endurance format, you just mostly saving.
Yeah, I think that's the key, and just kind of as an aside, outside of the race itself, was I think that's one of the keys to being an alien driver. Those high iRating guys is the ability to still run really, really fast laps and save fuel at the same time, and I think that ends up being the key to a successful iRacing career more often than not.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to ask again because I don't know where we're going to be next week. So I'll ask Ryan on the air. Ryan, bail me out again. Catalonia. Oh, so we're Barcelona next week. So, what are your thoughts about? I think one of the best tracks in iRacing.
I'm looking forward to it. I've not driven it before. I did just download it today. Did a couple of laps. It's one of those ones I've seen on TV, but never driven on iRacing. I think we're the historic layout as well. So, which I assume was changed for safety reasons. So, to be honest, on paper at least, it looks miles better than the modern ones because you've got much sort of nicer corners rather than the awkward little chicanes at the end. So, looking forward to learning it. It's going to be back to serious draft, which I suppose is pretty classic for SRF racing. So it will be fun.
Absolutely. Ian, congratulations again on your P2 today, and we'll let you get any thanks before we send you on your way. Yeah,
thanks guys. Thanks for the broadcast. Thanks to the league. Yeah, thanks to everyone racing today. It was a good one. See you all next week.
All right, Ian, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
And that right there was Ian Joyner, our P2 finisher here in this race. And let's also have a chat with our Masters winner at the end of the day. Rich Meester's now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Rich, welcome in. Congratulations on the Masters win and the P11 result here overall at Oschersleben. How was it out there?
Thanks. It was great. First bit was a bit, managing to sort around the cars. And then once I got into out of the draft a little bit, got dropped back a little bit, and really it was just then trying to put in consistent laps, not make any huge mistakes, and manage the gaps primarily.
Now, I want to ask you about this racetrack because it feels like a bit of a venture off into the unknown for many. I know this is only my second broadcast here at the circuit. It's not the most major change in the world, but it does kind of change the vibe of the track quite a lot, wouldn't you say?
Are you thinking about this layout or
this layout that we're running here today?
Yeah, I mean, it takes out some of the really interesting corners as you go down. Before you come back, and that little cutout there. So it was a little interesting to manage that hairpin. A lot of fun. It was, I've not raced it in this car, and I didn't get a lot of practice this week because I was out of town for work, but a lot of fun. Really just managing not, switching ends with the car was primarily the goal, and I had fixed a wheelbase issue this morning that was plaguing me when we raced it yesterday and causing me to not be able to catch some of the slower spins.
Well, thankfully, it worked out very well for you here in this race, walking away with another Masters win and a pretty darn good result overall. What are your thoughts heading off into Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for the next round of the season?
I think it'll be fun. I've not driven it in this car, so probably start hitting practice tonight and tomorrow just to kind of learn it a little bit. Looks like it's going to be a lot of drafting, a lot of longer corners, so it'll be an interesting challenge. I think a little bit different than this one, which really was kind of stay behind people, not a lot of opportunity to pass and work the tight corners.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what kind of racing we have there. I don't think I've ever gotten the opportunity to cover an SRF race at that track, so that's going to be a venture off into the unknown too. But Rich, before we let you go and celebrate this win, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Sure. Thanks to you guys, obviously, for putting on the broadcast, and the Weekend Warriors folks for having the event, and special shout out to Coach Connor, who's raced this a few times. Connor Bell is my coach, and he's really helped my racing a lot, improving over the last year.
There you go, man. Well, hey, thank you, Rich, for joining us here in the booth. Well done on the win, and we'll see you next time out at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Yeah,
thanks for having me. Good to see you guys there.
And that right there was Rich Meesters, our Masters winner here today. Well, Charles, we're expecting some interesting racing, and interesting racing we most certainly got.
Yep, absolutely, we did. It was a good race, and obviously we talked about some of the issues we were expecting, and that's exactly what we got. But still, once again, really good battles up front, really good battles in the mid pack. The Weekend Warriors just really does a good job of just racing hard. Doesn't matter if you're battling for P1 or P21, you're out there battling. So yeah, good race, and not honestly, I don't think as much attrition as I was expecting. I thought we might have had one of those races where we lost a lot of cars, and that just didn't happen. So shout out to the drivers for getting in the practice that they needed and putting on a good show. Have we lost Ron? We may have lost Ron. Ron left early.
Now we're good. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, no, my cab arrived here soon. A very fun day here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Got a lot of stuff to look forward to. Week in and week out here on SMB. On Tuesday nights, you can catch the American Muscle Series along with Sim Racers Group F4 action. Wednesdays, we've got the SRG F3 Series along with the occasional broadcast of the Esports Club Racing League as well. And of course, every single weekend, you can catch the Formula V Weekend Warriors on Saturdays along with the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors on Sundays. And XSLR, will be potentially returning in 1 week's time, depending on how everyone feels about racing on the Super Bowl. Want to wish you all the best before the next round of the season at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. But I think for this broadcast here, for round number 7 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Motorsports Arena Oschersleben, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the broadcast booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.